Hello there, I'm Joe Condon, and believe it or not, already the 142nd season of Saratoga Thoroughbred Racing is just around the corner. And we have someone who is beaming, happy, excited, thrilled about that. We have with us today Mr. Charlie Hayward, who is the CEO and president of the New York Racing Association, and you've had that position for the past 6 years. Welcome. Now you have Aqueduct and Belmont down in New York City. Which one of those tracks will be wrapping up the racing season and throwing it up to Saratoga?
We run at Belmont from early May through the third, or in this case, the second week of July. Okay. And we come to Saratoga. We go back to Belmont for the fall in September, October, and then we're at Aqueduct for pretty much 6 months through the late fall and winter, early spring months.
Now I see up here the harness at Saratoga Harness. You will see the horses on the track in the snow, and it's certainly a different kind of, well, harness racing is a different kind of racing, but is the racing down there in the wintertime different for the thoroughbreds?
You know, it's interesting. Horses actually like the cold and a lot better than they like the heat. And we don't have turf racing, obviously, in the winter. A lot of those horses go to Florida. We get some of our smaller owners and trainers that run at Aqueduct, and there's been some suggestion that perhaps we should close Aqueduct for some part of the winter. But what people don't realize is that Aqueduct is an extremely popular racing signal. It's the second most popular in the country during the winter months. And what's interesting, and again, a lot of people don't know this, is that we generate $5 million of purses that we don't pay out at Aqueduct, and that actually Aqueduct subsidizes the purses here at Saratoga. So that's a little known fact. And so for those people that have a soft spot about Aqueduct, you can know that that great little track, that blue-collar track, is contributing to what we're doing here in Saratoga.
Well, also, too, it's a part of New York State racing history, too. Yes. I mean, how is Saratoga the oldest track in New York State?
It's the oldest track in the country, actually, the continuously operating track in the country.
And what about the other two? They're pretty old there, too, right?
Well, yeah, Aqueduct, Belmont goes back to 1905, which probably makes it one of the third or fourth longest ones. Aqueduct replaced a track that had been around a long time called Jamaica, but actually Aqueduct was built in the 60s, right around the same time actually the Shea Stadium was built. Okay. So it doesn't have some of the history and the lore that Saratoga Belmont does, but it's been around for a while.
Now the word on the street is that 2010 is going to be the most exciting racing season yet at Saratoga. Do you agree or disagree with that?
You know, Saratoga's always exciting. There's no question about that. And you know, we'll get some of the horses from the Triple Crown. We'll get Quality Road, who is probably the best older horse in training right now. But one of the great things that most people like about Saratoga is that we like to see the stars run. We hope to have Rachel Alexander here, who won the Woodward Stakes against the boys last year. But the great thing about Saratoga is we make stars during Saratoga. One of the highlight of the meet is the 2-year-old races. And you know, you can go out in the paddock and you know, you could be looking at the next Kentucky Derby winner and not even know it because he might be running for the first time that day. So that's, I think, one of the things that makes Saratoga special is that we have the highest quality racing in the country, the best programming of stakes races, but we also have the best younger horses. So you know, you never know quite what to expect when you walk into the paddock or walk out to the track any day, and you know, that's why it's, I think, so enjoyable for people.
But one of the things I find very fascinating to watch is the steeplechase racing. That comes out of Louisville?
The steeplechase is they're actually based in Maryland.
Okay.
They've got some...
Told you. I didn't know.
And, but they really run up and down the East Coast. They've been a big part of Saratoga for a long time. What we decided to do, we used to run some flat races, you know, regular dirt races and turf races, and we invited the steeplechase folks to come in, and you know, they'll be running Sunday. And we'll have 3 jump races. People always like the jump races, and then there'll be 1 race on the turf for the steeplechasers. And then we have another 7 steeplechase races during the meet. We'll have you know, a race every Thursday, and then we have a big stakes race for them at the end of the meet. So steeplechase is a big part of the tradition of Saratoga.
Now I know that the steeplechase is the horses jumping over the hedges. But how would you describe the difference between what one perceives as traditional thoroughbred racing and steeplechase thoroughbred racing? Are the horses different athletes? Are they trained differently? Are the purses different?
Most of the horses that become steeplechase horses, are thoroughbreds that ran in thoroughbred races. They tend to be, more sturdily bred horses, if that's a word. And because the steeplechase races are much longer, the races generally at Saratoga are 2 1/8, and the longest turf race we'll have is 1.5 miles. So they're more sturdy because of the fact that they have the issues of having to jump over the fences. From a wagering perspective, steeplechase races only take about 40% of the bets that thoroughbreds do because they don't have quite the following in terms of the wagering, but they're still really fun to watch and a great part of the Saratoga tradition.
What you seem to be saying is that the steeplechase horses are better athletes and more physically fit than the other ones because of the challenge with their racing?
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. As racing has evolved and the breeding has evolved, the horses are much more bred for speed now than they are for endurance. So, for example, 15 years ago, winning the Belmont Stakes, the 1.5 mile race, the only 1.5 mile race for Grade 1 horses, 3-year-olds, was a big deal, and people wanted to be bred to a Belmont Stakes winner. Now people would rather be bred to the Met Mile winner, and so that as a result, the steeplechases are sturdier horses. They're older horses. They can stay in training longer. So you're right. There's a little bit of a distinction there. A lot of the good thoroughbreds bred for more speed will generally retire a little bit earlier.
Now Saratoga is an international, national, statewide, and local icon. In fact, the entire capital region rotates around Saratoga in the summertime. How does it feel for you to be head of an international icon? Do you wake up someday and look in the mirror and go, wow?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Saratoga is, without question, the best racing in the country, and some would argue in the world. The way we kind of think of it is, because we race at Aqueduct for 6 months, we stay fairly humble about what we do, but we really look at it as running racing at Saratoga is like a big league sports franchise. We're the equivalent of the Green Bay Packers, if you will, where we have a great sport in a small community. What's really great about Saratoga, and I've owned a home in Saratoga since 1986, is that during the entire meet, the whole town just breathes racing. You not only see it during the day, you go to a restaurant at night, you'll see a trainer, a jockey, people have their racing forms. One of the most favorite things that I love to do and people love to do is get up in the morning, go watch the horses work out at Oklahoma, get your Dunkin' Donuts and a cup of coffee and, sit in the stands where Mary Lou Whitney could be sitting later that day and watch the races. So it's just, it's a really special time, and anyone that owns a horse, they want to see their horse run and they want to see their horse win at Saratoga. So it's really exciting.
One of my favorite parts of Saratoga is I love breakfast at the track. And, I see you there. The food is tremendous, but to see the horses work out, and the thing that is so nice for families when they go there, the horses will come over to the side and the little kids can pet the horses or have their picture taken with the horses, and the jockeys or the trainers will talk to the kids. That's really a great family experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the jocks, the trainers, the owners, they all love coming to Saratoga because you really celebrate the horse. And we have a great tradition at that breakfast that you mentioned, because it's right on the porch. You can see the sun streaming in. The horses are only probably about 25 feet away. And the trainers will bring their ponies, by, and, you can pet the horses. And we have a woman that's been, I think doing this for 30 years. Her name's Mary Ryan.
Right.
And what Mary will do is she'll tell you, just because she knows the saddle cloth, she knows how the horses look, she'll tell you, here comes the horse that won the Preakness Stakes, and, is trained by this person, and his next race is expected to be in 3 weeks. And, so if you listen to Mary, you can get a pretty good education. And again, it's just part of the whole environment that really makes Saratoga special.